And it's time to review on how to add and subtract fractions and mixed numbers. What do we remember when we do add and subtract fractions? Yes, you're right. We need to have the same denominator. And how do we find the common denominator? Exactly. The least common multiple of 5 and 10. But before anything else, let's try to change this into a improper fraction. So let's do that. So 5 times 6, that's going to be 30. Then whatever the product is, add that to the numerator, that's going to be 32. So 30 plus 2 is 32 over 5 plus 7 over 10. Now remember, when you add or subtract fractions, that's the only time that we need to find a common denominator. Now, we need to find the least common multiple of 5 and 10. And we know that it's going to be 10 because if you skip count 5, you get 5, 10, 15, and 20. It should be 15. And we got 10 and 20. So what is the least common multiple of 5 and 10? And we know it's going to be 10. So our common denominator is 10. Now, what did you multiply to 5 to get 10? We multiplied by 2. So the same goes to the top. You multiplied by 2. And that should give us 64. Addition sign. Now, what did you multiply to 10 to get 10? And just 1, right? Nothing changed. So that's going to be 7. So now, what is 64 plus 7? It's going to be 71 over 10. Now, if you have an improper fraction, you need to change this into a mixed number. So mixed number. So how do we change into a mixed number? We do long division. So 71 divided by 10. You don't have to if you know how many times 10 can go to 71. And we know it's going to be 7 times, right? And then the denominator stays the same. So 10 times 7 is 70. What's left over, or the remainder, is 1. And that's our answer. But if you want to do long division, how it works, this is how it works. So can 10 go to 7? No. Can 10 go to 71? Yes. How many times? 7 times. So 7 times 10 is 70. So subtract that, that's 1. Remember, your 7, your quotient, this will be your whole number. That's what we have here, whole number. And then your remainder will be your numerator. Okay? And then your divisor will be your denominator. See how that is? So 7, 7, 1, 10th. So the numerator is 1. We have here 1, 10th. Easy, right? Okay. Now, make sure you memorize your multiplication facts if you have a hard time finding the least common multiples or the least common denominator. Let's do number 2. Now, for number 2, what if we have a subtraction problem? So 5 and 4/7 minus 3 and 2/3. So let's change the mixed numbers into improper fractions. So let's multiply 7 and 5, and that will be 35. Then you add 4, and that's going to be 39 over 7. Minus 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2, that's going to be 11 over 3. Now remember, we need to change the denominators because it should be the same. And the common denominator of 3 and 7 would be 21. Now, how do we get 21? So remember, we have 7 and 3. If we skip count 7, we have 7, 14, and 21. If we skip count 3, we got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and 21. Now, what is the least common multiple of 7 and 13? So the least common multiple is 21. It's the only number that's the same. So how many times did we skip count 7 to get 21? And that's 3 because 7 times 3 is 21. So we also multiply 39 by 3. So 39 times 3 will get you 117 minus what's 3 times a number gives you 21, and that should be 7. So we also multiply 11 by 7, and that's going to be 77. Now we have the same denominator. Now we can subtract these values, and that would be, what's 117 minus 77? It's 40 over 21. Now, this is an improper fraction, so we need to change this into a mixed number. So how many 21s can go into 40? And we know it's only one time, right? Because if we double 21, it's going to be 42. So it's going to be over 40. So 1 and leftover is 19. Now, if you want to see how that's done with long division, this is how it's done. So it's going to be 40 divided by 21. Let me change to red. 21 can go into 40 just one time, so that's going to be 21. Subtract that. This becomes a 10. This becomes a 3. Now we have 3 minus 2 is 10 minus 1 is 9. 3 minus 2 is 1. Again, this will be your whole number. And then your remainder will be your numerator. And then this divisor will still be your denominator. There you go. And we are done. Now, let's try to do the next problem. For number 3, let's try to have, let's see, let me use this color. For number 3, let's try to have a whole number 4 minus 1 and 3/4. Now, there's 2 ways to do this. I'll show you the first way. The usual way is we use 4 as a improper fraction. So it's going to be 4 over 1 minus, then change this into an improper fraction, the 1 3/4. So 1 times 4 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So 7 over 4. Now, let's find the common denominator. Obviously, it's going to be 4. So the common denominator is 4. If you want to make sure, you can skip count. So what's 1 times something gets you 4? So it's going to be 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Now this 4 times something gets you 4 is still 1. So times 1 minus 7. There you go. What is 16 minus 7? 16 minus 7 is 9. 9 over 4. Now, how many times does 4 can go into 9? And we know it's 2 times, right? Because 4 times 2 is 8. What's left over is 9. So there you go. And we have 2 and 1/4. If you want to see the long division part, it's going to look like this. So 4 can go into 9 2 times. Oops, there we go. 2 times. So that's going to be 8. Subtract that. That's going to be 1. Again, this is your whole number. Oops. This is your numerator, and this is your denominator. Okay? Now, what's the other way of solving this? So the other way of solving this, let me cut this and this so you won't get confused. I'm going to rewrite it again. The other way of solving it is to break down 4. It's a whole number, right? So we can break it down. So we can change this into just the 3 whole number, take 1 out, and change it into 4 over 4 minus 1 and 3/4. Now, isn't that easy? Now, if you get confused with this one, just focus on the first method, right? Now, these values are still the same. Why? Because look at that. If I change this back into an improper fraction, this is going to be 4 times 3. It's going to be 12 plus 4 is 16, and 16 over 4 is 4. Now I did this because it's easier. Look, 3 minus 1 is 2. 4/4 minus 3/4 will give you 1/4, and we are done. Only if it's gonna be a whole number just like this, okay? Now, that's for number 3. If you're confused with this method, don't think about it, just focus on the first method. Now let's do number 4. So for number 4, we have 3 terms. We have 1 and 2/3 plus 4 and 5/12 minus 2 and 1/4. Now, for some, you can just do two numbers at a time. So you can do this first before subtracting. Others do all three terms right away. So it's up to you. Now, for this example, let's do all three terms, okay? Now, let's try to find the common denominator. But before that, let's change these into improper fractions. Now, it's going to be times 3 times 1 is 3. That's going to be 3 plus 2. That's going to be 5/3. Plus 12 times 4. That's going to be, 48. Plus 5. That's going to be 53/12. Minus 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1, that gives you 9/4. Now, let's find the common denominator of 3, 12, and 4. So let's do skip counting on this side. So this is 3, this is 12, and this is 4. Now remember, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. This is 12, 4, 8, and 12, and then 16. So the common multiple of all these three numbers would be 12, right? So that's going to be our common denominator. That's our least common denominator. So everything will be 12. What did you multiply to 3 to get 12? We multiplied by 4. So 5 times 4 would be 20. They copied the addition sign. What did you multiply to 12 to get 12? Just by 1. Because 12 times 1 is 12, so 53 times 1 is 53. Then copy the minus sign. What did you multiply to 4 to get 12? And that's going to be 3. So 9 times 3 is also 27. Now, we do left to right. So let's add first. What's 20 plus 53? And that's going to be 73 minus 27/12. Then let's subtract. What is 73 minus 27? And that would be, 46/12. Can we simplify 46/12? What's the common factor that we can divide evenly to 46 and 12? And you're right, it's going to be 2. So 46 divided by 2 is 23. And then 12 divided by 2 is going to be 6. Now, it's an improper fraction, so that means we need to change this into a mixed number. So that means we need to do what? Long division. Or ask yourself, how many times can 6 go into 23? How many times? And that's going to be 3 times, because 3 times 6 is 18, and leftover, or the remainder, would be 5. So the answer is 3 and 5/6. Now, to show you how that's done, it's going to look like this. 23 divided by 6. Can 6 go into 2? No. So let's use the 2 digits. Can 6 go into 23? 3 times. So 3 times 6 is going to be what? 18. Oops, it's going to be 1, and it's going to be 8. Subtract that. So 23 minus 18. Let's use red one. 8 can't, you can't take away 8 from 3. That becomes 13. This becomes a 1. So 13 minus 8, it's going to be, 5. So remember, your quotient, this answer 3 at the top, would be your whole number. That's what's here. See? 3. And then this is your remainder, which is your numerator. There you go. And then this will be your denominator. Okay?